I am Purnindu Kumar Patra, and today we will start off our video lecture series of strategic management. As you know, plans are courses of action which have a certain purpose to achieve, and strategy is different from a plan in a way that a strategy is a long term course of action. Obviously, like a plan, a strategy also must have a purpose. To fulfill a purpose. And when this same long term action or course of action is taken for a business or a enterprise or a commercial establishment, then it is called a business strategy. So, basically we are dealing with a long term course of action, the study of long term courses of action which are taken by enterprises, to achieve or to fulfill their long term objectives, long term purposes. This purpose here, we will come to this later on in the next video clip. For the time being, we just need to know that this purpose word here has multiple meanings, and all of these meanings are connected. For example, you have something called as objectives, you have something called as vision, you have something called as mission. So, all of these words, they are indicated here in this purpose. So, a strategy is basically a long term course of action to fulfill a certain purpose which is reflected for businesses in vision, mission, objectives and goals. So, that is the basic concept of what a strategy is. Next, we will go on to what is a nature, what is the nature of strategy. Strategy is both an art as well as a science. Why an art? Because it involves managing people, it involves a lot of skill, the application of those skills, both technical as well as non technical, and it also involves a lot of visionary acumen. As we proceed in the video lecture series, we will see that visionary leaders, they are entrusted with the responsibility of designing, implementing and evaluating strategies, which means we are not depending on an inexperienced person to dictate or to design our strategy. That is why it is an art which can be well fulfilled or better implemented by people who have a certain minimum skill sets or a certain minimum experience behind them. So, that is how we consider strategy as an art, because it involves skills and their applications, it involves vision or foresight, it requires experience. How is it a science? Skills can be groomed or developed with the help of science. Technology, which is required for these days, it is required for implementation of strategy also. Technology is required very much in the evaluation of strategy, in the monitoring and control of strategy also. So, that is how it is a science also. So, the implementation control, evaluation and some aspects of planning also. We use science in the sense that we design a strategy, we implement it, we continuously evaluate it whether our assumptions have been correct or not. This is basically a scientific approach towards anything. So, that is how the nature of strategy is both an art as well as a science. Next, we will look at why strategy is important for us or organizations. Well, strategy involves, as we go further into the lecture series, we will see that strategy involves enormous amounts of budgetary allocation. As in, companies, they bank on strategy for all of their future outcomes. The success of a strategy will determine whether a company stays afloat or goes down in business. So, it entails large or enormous amounts of budgetary allocations. It involves meticulous planning, manpower related planning, or it is better known as HR planning. All of these activities, they are deterministic of the success or failure of an organization in the future. So, it is vital that when a strategy is chosen, proper planning has gone behind it. When a strategy is implemented, you have the necessary manpower to ensure that its implementation is being done in the right way. When it is evaluated, you have to have the technology, you have to have the expertise, you have to have the know-how to ensure that the implementation and evaluation of strategy is being done free of bias, without any errors, without any omissions. So, it is very vital for a company that its strategy is not only devised, but also implemented and evaluated in a proper manner. So, that is how it is very important. Well, if a strategy backfires or goes off track, what can happen? Well, it is just like wedding a girl into the wrong house or getting into the wrong career. How do such decisions impact individuals? Their lives are shattered, aren't they? A similar thing happens to businesses also. Businesses, they enter into partnerships, they enter into joint ventures, they purchase other businesses, they detach from functions, they detach from certain businesses. In all of these activities and decisions, strategy is involved. So, that is how the outcome of all such decision is linked directly to the failure, success or survival of an organization. That is how a strategy is very important, and its study is also very important. Well, moving on, we need to understand that we are looking at strategy as well as its management, strategic management, that is by the name. So, what does management involve basically? We know that management involves some basic activities of planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling. Well, these are the major tasks of any manager. These are this is the managerial outlook towards any activity. So, when you combine all of these activities, and as you might see that these are organization wide activities, I mean there is no single function that has been able to isolate itself of planning, of organizing or any one of these activities. There is no such function. All the organizational functions, be it internal or be it a customer facing or be it a government facing or be it a society facing, be it a CSR activity, any organizational activity has all of these activities or sub activities. So when we combine these managerial tasks or roles with the definition or the concept of a strategy, and we add the purpose of strategy, that is to fulfill organizational objectives, we get the definition of strategic management. To simplify, in fact, this is a very simple structure to understand strategic management, but still to further simplify, we just need to understand that strategic management is nothing but the planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling of a strategy. Again, here the concept of strategy should be recalled. I would like you to recall the concept of strategy, and that is a long-term course of action to fulfill organizational objectives. So, the management of a strategy, the management as in POSDC, the planning, organizing, staffing, directing and controlling of a strategy is nothing but strategic management. There are different definitions, but I would not go through any bookish definition in my video series. I would try to keep it as simple as possible and as plain as possible so that it is equitable for everybody to understand. So that is the concept of strategy.